Night, that is tonight, when the Warriors visit the Cavs. Since LeBron James returned to the lineup in January, the Cavs have been the best team in the league. The Cavs have won 17 of 20 and own the NBA's best record over that stretch. Meanwhile, the Warriors have MVP favorite Steph Curry, who says he's looking forward to facing the four-time MVP for the first time this season. I don't know if you all remember the time the two teams played, LeBron was injured. He did not play. So let's look ahead, Stephen A. Do you believe that this will be a finals preview?
Not yet, because of Andrew Bogut and David Lee. I have no questions about anybody else on Golden State's roster. Certainly not Steph Curry or Klay Thompson. Definitely not Draymond Green. I love Andre Iguodala and Harrison Barnes and what they bring to the equation. I even like Maurice Spates and the role that he plays. I need to see Andrew Bogut show up. Meaning literally show up, like be in the lineup, be ready to play. I also need David Lee not to look as lost offensively or defensively the way he has been. His game has suffered miserably this season, partially due to injuries, partially due to him seeming lost and just out of sync. Something's got to give. In order for the Golden State Warriors to get to the NBA Finals, David Lee and Andrew Bogut are going to have to show up and produce for this team. Otherwise, the Golden State Warriors will be gone by the second round.
How about the other side of the equation? You got Cleveland in the East yet?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
There's nobody that can mess with Cleveland right now because there's nothing to talk about. I mean, Chris Bosh in Miami, now, you know, this situation with Derrick Rose, what's there to talk about? I mean, Atlanta's going to be a threat. Washington, I don't know what's happening then. We'll talk about them a little bit later. Toronto is formidable, but Cleveland is clearly the class of the East right now. David Griffin acquiring Mozgov, Iman Shumpert, J.R. Smith, and even Kendrick Perkins. There's nobody standing in Cleveland's way now. Nobody.
Okay, back to the West.
In the East. In the East.
Yeah, in the East. I got you. We're going to talk about this in a moment. I haven't completely given up on my Spurs yet. My preseason pick and your preseason pick to win both the West and the championship, if I recall. But it is hard for me not to love Golden State right now, Stephen A., because we are talking about the best player, the best backcourt, and you were a little critical there of David Lee. He's now just a role player to me, a bench player. I think Golden State now has the best bench in all of basketball, and that is a big, big deal because at this time last year, my Spurs had the best bench in all of basketball, and did that not benefit them through their playoff run and their finals run to a record margin victory over the Miami Heat? A lot of that was about the bench. Now when I look at this bench, and you brought up Spates coming off the bench, his PER, most people don't follow this that closely, it's 20. It's rare. It's unbelievably good coming off the bench. Iguodala has embraced his role as like the seventh man. He is playing at a supremely high level. And Sean Livingston, who used to have stud potential, is starting to play like Sean Livingston. And then you throw in Barbosa and David Lee, and all of a sudden, I'm watching them night after night, and I say, they're shock troops. Their second team is really, really good. And we know how good the starters are. And I'm going to make this point. I know we both love Mark Jackson, and I'm not disrespecting Mark at all. This isn't to say that Steve Kerr is a better coach than Mark Jackson. He's just a different coach. Maybe he's the good cop. I don't know. I thought Steve might be too nice a guy to be a successful NBA coach, and we still have a long way to go because we haven't even started the playoffs yet, obviously. But this team is clicking for Steve Kerr in ways that I didn't quite see it click for Mark Jackson. Again, maybe that'll change when the real games start. But this offense is so lethal because the ball movement is Spurs-like now. And Steve Kerr has a great offensive mind. And they're having more fun than they had under Mark Jackson. Maybe they'll lose a little toughness that Mark taught them and brought them. But right now, Steve Kerr, I would think you would agree, has to be the coach of the year, right? For what he's doing with this team. This is a lethal combination of coach and talent right now.
It's a lethal combination, but I'm still giving Budenholzer my coach of the year if I had to vote today. I reserve the right to change my mind as the season progresses. But Atlanta, with the level of talent that they have compared to Golden State,
it's a close call.
I mean, To me, it's not, because Budenholzer, listen, they've got the best team against anybody in the Western Conference. Atlanta I'm talking about here. I got to give Budenholzer
Okay,
credit
but how
for
many
that.
times do you tell me how much better the West is? Steve Kerr is a rookie coach who'd never coached a dribble anywhere.
Who inherited
Okay.
Who inherited a 49-win team,
Okay,
who inherited Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Draymond Green, who inherited a bunch of dudes that are already accustomed to playing together, plus they're gifted. All I'm trying to say is that I'm not taking anything away from Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr has been incredibly impressive. But let me tell you something about this, and I'm going to bring this up because somebody brought this up about Mark Jackson. I'm going to come to my man Mark Jackson's defense on this level, Skip. And I know you aren't knocking him in any way, and nobody is. Steve Kerr has done an absolutely phenomenal job. But how is it that we look at players and we talk about the importance of experience, and we talk about what they were as babies and how they grew through infancy into adulthood, just speaking figuratively, into basketball players, but we forget that whole process. To me, if Mark Jackson had this same team after the experience that they had the last year or two, we're trying to say that's not going to happen? That's all I'm trying to say. It's like we're looking at Steve Kerr. It's like it's so much better than what it was. Well, Steph Curry's better. And Klay Thompson, now he's got a $70 million contract. He looks better. And Iguodala coming off the bench, he looks better. And Harrison Barnes playing the role he's playing, he looks better. And Maurice Spates hitting his jump shots, averaging 11 points off the bench, he looks better. And so you look at this, and they didn't have Sean Livingston last year, okay? They didn't have Barbosa last year. So I'm just saying that when you look at the team itself, you don't ignore what the experience was that led to them. That Steph Curry, Isaiah Thomas was on NBA TV a few weeks ago, and he has nothing but profound respect for the job that Steve Kerr has done. And we all know that Isaiah Thomas knows a little something about basketball. I mean, he just won a championship on college and in the pros, by the way. But he's sitting there and he's going like this. Look, Steve Kerr is doing a great job. But could you play back that tape, please, and stop acting like these were plays that was being called? You watching Steph Curry, there is no play. He's literally boogieing on somebody, just dancing on him, and just ting, just like that. It's no plays. I'm sorry. So when you look at it, then you go and you ask Steve Kerr the question afterwards, and Steve Kerr was like, yeah, my play caller looked beautiful, didn't it? I mean, I called Steph Curry dribbling between his legs 3 or 4 times, dancing on somebody, and raining it from 25 or 27 feet. I'm like, look at this stuff. Look, these boys can play. And all I'm saying is, if you're going to talk about Steve Kerr, all right, that's fine. And having Alvin Gentry on there, that's a huge plus.
It is.
But these players have grown. Well, who was there when they were growing? Let's not forget that.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
All right. I'm just going to give you sort of through the eyes of the Spurs perspective. Last year, they did not fear Golden State whatsoever. If it came to a playoff series, no problem. You remember 2 years ago, they beat them in 6 games, winning Game 6 at Golden State. Now, it looks like if the Spurs do make the playoffs, they will face Golden State in the first round because they're going to wind up, at best, the 8 seed. I can tell you right now, in their heart of hearts, they think they don't have much of a shot with no home court advantage to have to play Golden State in round 1.
Well, first of all, that's blasphemous. Yeah. The Spurs would walk on the court thinking they have no shot.
Hey,
that's a little bit.
They just got destroyed at Golden State. It was a joke game. It was a joke. They got picked to pieces. They got run off the floor.
Your brother from another mother is looking out for you here.
No.
It is
I don't need anybody to look out for me.
No. Stop talking. Yes, you do on this one. Because we all know you're emotional. Stop it. We all know you're emotional. You have no objectivity.
This has
when
gone
it comes
on
to
too
this,
long.
stop lying. Stop lying. Everybody knows that.
No.
Everybody knows that about you,
I'm
Skip.
sorry.
When it comes to the Spurs, you don't know it. You're emotional. You're not emotional when it comes to the Spurs.
Yeah, I think you're very emotional. But we're going to talk about the Spurs a little later on, gentlemen. We don't have to do it.
They're 5-time champions.
Yeah.
And you're talking about them in February.
All right.
Forget them.
You want to make your final point?
No.
Okay,
Well, I'm
we'll get
saving it.
Save
for the next
it.
one.
Let's just save
Yeah,
it, gents.
I'm saving 29 points for the next one.
The NBA
Well, I was
doubleheader
going
on
somewhere else, but you
ESPN
brought up the
tonight
Spurs
at
and
8. The
distracted
Heat take on the Pelicans, and at
Keep
10:30, the Thunder take on the Blazers. It all kicks off with NBA Countdown. That's tomorrow night, ladies and gentlemen. We will talk about that, obviously, as well. But speaking of tonight's game, that's what we're talking about. We talked about the Warriors and the Cavs. I think it's hard to say who will be coming out of the West, but who will come out of the East? We need your help with that. Respond to the hashtag Pick the East Finals. It's our Twitter poll for the day. Hashtag Pick the East Finals. We will let you know a little later on in the show what the results will be. Now, when we come back, he was a star running back at USC, won the Heisman, and later it was stripped away, but still drafted number 2 overall. The ups and downs of one Reggie Bush's career. We discuss in just a few moments.